What was a good time for your husband to come home? 5?
I actually didn't, maybe I did not want him to go anywhere. That is what you do when you are wounded. You want a person to remain with you, like you are clingy.
So you were clingy?
Yes, actually I was very clingy. And it's funny because you don't want him to go anywhere. But again, when you are with him, because you are wounded, you are bringing unnecessary issues and frictions.
Yeah.
You know, you are a confused human.
Yeah.
That is what I was.
Yes. This is a new meeting point for people all over the world to gather for healing and ultimate wellness through the solutions provided in our conversations. Welcome to Wellness with Lilly. Welcome to Wellness with Lilly. The channel is Shared Moments with Justus. And please subscribe if you haven't already. I am Lilly, and the topic today is so interesting, how childhood trauma causes issues in marriage. I stumbled upon a woman who admits to having had toxic traits within her marriage, and it was causing difficulties in her marriage. Most of the people I meet it's easy to say that it's my spouse who has toxic traits. It's my ex who had toxic traits. And by the way, even that toxic trait, I'm using it. I've just been schooled about it. So let me quickly introduce the guest today before I fumble over my words again. Jeniffer Kiarie is her name. She's an amazing psychologist, counseling psychologist in Nairobi. And she is a mother of 3. She's a wife. She's been married for 14 years. I got so excited the day I heard you say that you actually had toxic traits. You were making your marriage difficult unknowingly. Was it unknowing, or did you know? What was that?
Okay, thank you, Lilly, for having me.
Yes.
Now, the thing is, even when you know that you're the one who is bringing about issues, you are never honest with yourself.
No.
And that is how so many people, things get so bad until they get to a point where they are irreversible, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't face themselves and tell themselves, I am the one with the issues. But for me, I did. And when I did, things turned around.
Wow. Mm-hmm. I'll just jump right into the story. And I want to know, most people, when you're in that wounded state, you tend to see others as the ones having a problem. Yes. What problems did you initially think your husband had?
The thing is, when you are wounded, you are usually said you are hyper alert, hypersensitive, hypervigilant. So your antennae are like,
yeah.
So, and the way we usually say that you get what you are looking for. So being so hyper alert and hypersensitive, you see things even when they are not there. The first thing I know I used to do, and I actually quoted it somewhere the other day, I could not be corrected. You could not correct me. And actually, if I come across a person who does not accept corrections whatsoever, I'm like, you have a problem. You are wounded. You may not know it. So my husband would do things innocently, but for me, it's attacking me. Actually, that is how wounded people take it. You'll correct a person, but they make it subjective. It is about me. So like I remember, the other day I actually remembered one of the very earliest interactions with my husband that brought about issues that when I look back now, I realize it is because I had a problem. I used to do online writing, academic writing. That is how some people know it. Yeah. And when it's my husband who actually introduced me to it, and my writing was horrible to say the least. It's a shame, and I had gone to campus, but I guess I'm not alone. Yeah. Many people, organizing a paper, grammar, everything. Yeah,
it's not the same as just writing for leisure purposes.
Yeah. Yes, or replying. writing answers for questions in the exam room. So I would do papers, and then my husband would edit them because we can't send them to the client when they have issues. Yeah. Those whatever, the moments during which he would be editing, correcting, it was not
you
sitting
can't
well
take it.
What do you mean? That I can't write well? And you can't accept correction. So my husband would do such things innocently. Another thing, and this is something that many men do anyway, when you get married, remember that every one of us, when you get married as a couple, everyone comes with an image of how a wife should be from their mother. you know, or from the interaction they saw with their parents. So that is how my husband came. So sometimes he would forget or not realize that he needs to to tell me something. And for me, I'm like, you want to become like my father was. You know, for instance, let us say he had gone to Nairobi, and then he did Nairobi town, and then he changes, he gets some other business, and he has to go through another, let us say, another side of Nairobi from where I knew he was going.
Yes.
And then he comes, and I'm like, so you went to that place and you did not tell me. Then my husband, I'm like, oh my God, I did not even figure. I thought I could just come and tell you, I went to this place, then this place. By the time he is explaining that, I'm already like, you are just being any other man like my father.
Oh.
Yeah, so he would do things innocently, but I would not take them lightly. And hopefully you are going to even cover more, because there were, when you are so wounded like I was, I'm telling you, there are so many instances of quarrels and disagreements that don't make any sense.
What are
from a person who is now healed.
I hear you. Can you remember some instances, some specific incidences of things that you did that were excessive? Like you look back and you cringe. You're like, what was that?
At the time I came to realize I think I have a problem. I used to hit things. I used to, hit things against the floor. You know, when you're wounded, you usually feel like the other person is not understanding you. But it is actually you who is looking at things from a very distorted perspective. And so I would often get frustrated at my husband's inability to understand me. So I think we had a disagreement, and then I was really feeling he's not understanding me, and I hit the bottle. It broke apart, like everything.
Oh.
And I guess that is the time he had constantly been telling me over time, hi, I think you have a problem. I think you have a problem with the self-control. You have a problem with the anger. But I think when I broke that bottle, I was like, I think here there is a problem now. And that is when I started sitting down, calling myself for a meeting, reflecting, and I realized things are not okay. You know, there is you being told you have a problem, and there is you sitting and thinking, I think he's right. And it is not an easy thing to do, Lily. Let me tell you. It's not easy. Many people will die before they say, I am the one with a problem here. So at that time, something else was happening. I started getting haunted by the death of my father. Now, my father, let me tell you about him. My father struggled with alcoholism for 10 years. And that is how I got emotionally wounded, father woods.
So you knew him before alcoholism?
Yes, I knew him. And the reason why I honestly believe my father, you know, this helped me even forgive him, you know, come to a point of forgiving him. It's because my father was a role model in the village, by the way. He was a teacher. You know, teachers those days,
he
was
reputed.
A teacher. He was very responsible. He was always making sure his children are in school and all that. I saw him go down, the way we say downward spiral. Yes, I saw it happen. I saw him change. I saw him drink from morning. I saw things go so bad. I saw him become violent, aggressive, and so on and so forth.
How old were you around that time?
1996, I was 8 years old. That is when now things started changing. And I will tell you, Lily, things got so bad. I usually tell people, I know what it means to sleep outside. To sleep outside in the shaba until I think 3 a.m. Because he came drunk, he threw all of us out, and because the moment the alcohol would go down in the blood, the concentration, he would change. So he would actually open for us and allow us to come into the house. The worst was, and this is actually what wounded me, I saw him abuse my mother. Not once, not twice. It is something that would happen on a daily basis. I saw it. And my mom, I don't know, I think it is the way she was brought up or something, but she would not defend herself like you would expect. So what usually happens, and people need to know this, by the way, when you don't stand up for yourself in an abusive marriage, and I know sometimes standing up can cause, a back and forth with your abusive partner, your children are the one who start taking up that responsibility. They start developing bitterness bitterness against that partner you are protecting. That partner you are not studying and saying, I think, you are not supposed to treat me this way. Your children are the one who are looking at you and they're like, oh, men are bad. I should, you know, they develop a lot of
perspectives.
Yes, and they grow up with a huge desire to revenge. You know, to revenge for, I saw what my mother, what was done to her. So I remember I would see my mother being abused, you know.
Beaten.
And, yes, beaten many times than I can. Okay, of course, she would run away, or she would, you know, remove herself from wherever so that she doesn't get an injury. But it happened so many times I can't even count them. Like, it was the normal. Like, in our family, in our household, chaos were the normal.
And you, the children, he would also beat you, throw things at you?
No, he wouldn't. In fact, I don't remember. My father, I think he only beat me like 2 times, the ones I can remember. He wouldn't. But I'm telling you, Lily, when you grow up in a war zone, because that was practically what it was, the emotional damage you sustain, they are huge. They are huge. So I remember this, Lily, and this is now what built up to what I was about to tell you about my turning point. I remember this day, and I was in the shamba farming. And so I'm holding my panga like this. And I remember I started telling myself, thoughts came to me, and I think I could have even verbalized it. And I was like, I'm going to work so hard in school. No man will ever take me what I've seen my mother taken through. And that, what I didn't know, that was a manifestation of trauma. When I now, with the understanding of childhood trauma that I know, that was a traumatized child that was talking that way. I will never. Let me tell you, Lily, I usually say, I performed well in school, because I remember in our year 2005, the KCSE, I was the first one in the school in a class of 81 students. But I did not perform because I really wanted to perform per se. It was my way of,
revenge.
Revenge and running away from, you know, those men who torture women. You know, because I had looked at my mother and I was like, the reason why she doesn't escape, she is not able to get out of here, it's because she's jobless and she was not educated so much. So for me, working hard at school, it was my escape. And I ended up performing and going to campus. So anyway, at that point when I started realizing I have a problem, I was also being constantly haunted by the death of my father.
What do you mean by haunted? Would you get nightmares, or how would it manifest?
I would be like this, and I'm like, something is telling me, no, my father shouldn't have died. You know, he shouldn't have gotten to where he gotten, to a point, but I don't know whether I indicated it here, but he drowned in a river while drunk.
Oh, that's how he died.
Yeah. So I used to tell myself, after 10 years of struggling with alcoholism, and by the time he died, he had gone for rehab, but he had relapsed. He had lapsed or relapsed.
Relapsed.
Yes, a bit. It was not so much like before, but still, he tried to cross a river while drunk and he was swept off. So I used to feel, you know, I would be like this, and I'm like, my father shouldn't have died. If only he had somewhere he could talk about his frustrations, whatever was bothering him, whatever had pushed him into alcoholism, whatever had made him an aggressive person, because I had seen him before the alcohol. I was feeling like, no, I need to do something. I can prevent, even if just one death. And Lily, at that point, I started going to high schools to talk to students about drugs and alcohol. Remember, at this point, I'm yet to know what is ailing me. I don't even think I knew the word childhood trauma, by the way, at that time.
At that time, how old are you?
That was 2017.
Oh.
I've already been married. That was the 7th year of my marriage.
Right.
And we have been having issues.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, so I started going to high schools to talk to them about drugs and alcohol. And then at some point, I would approach the principal and request them, would you allow me to talk to students about drugs and alcohol? Because I thought that was the biggest problem we are dealing with at that time. And I remember at some point, after going severally, I think for 2 years, then I started telling myself, now in 2019, I think I need to at least equip myself with some knowledge. Because remember, all I was going to share was based on my interaction with my father.
Yes.
So I thought, I think I need some book-based knowledge so that even as I'm going to talk to the students, I can, do it from a point of knowing more. And at that time, I couldn't go back to school. I did not even know that I want to be a counseling psychologist.
Yeah.
I just knew I want to build my knowledge base.
Yes.
So I went online, searched for a course on drug abuse, because I thought that is what I would be addressing.
Yes.
And I couldn't, I went to a platform called Allison. I have to say it because someone may actually get help there, at least to kickstart your career journey. So I went to Allison, found a course on Allison. I came across it on YouTube. I used to watch so many videos on these issues of drugs. So I came across the ad for Allison. And at the same time, I had seen another person mention it somewhere. So I went and looked for a course on drug abuse. I couldn't, I enrolled. I found a course and enrolled. I thought it is on drug abuse. But surprisingly, I found drug abuse was just one of the modules. The course was otherwise on mental health. I actually thought of an enrolling. I won't lie to you. I was like, I don't want to do this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was looking for drug.
It was not connecting that there's a mental health issue anywhere.
At that time, I did not know that mental health, poor mental health is actually what underlies drug abuse. So I was like, I wanted to enroll, to just click and, whatever. But then it's like a voice was telling me, drug abuse is built on, it has roots. And the roots, one of the roots, poor mental health. So I was like, let me just do this. Let me tell you, Lily, the moment I finished that course, because I could have finished it, I think, in a week only. It wasn't so long. I started connecting the dots. I was doing this because I was this. You know, because now it's covering mental health, and you can't talk about mental health and not to mention childhood trauma.
Yeah.
Because I don't know whether people know, but one of the biggest predisposing factors for poor mental health and mental illnesses, it is childhood trauma.
Yeah.
So I started connecting this with this. Let me tell you, by the time I got done with that, I went back, did another one on depression, another one on stress management, another one on self-care. Like, I developed a hunger, because finally, I'm getting an answer on what has been ailing me.
Yes.
Remember, I had started realizing I have a problem.
Yeah.
Now the dots are connecting.
So you did the course after the purple bottle. I was wondering, where does the
Yes, the purple bottle. At that time when I broke that purple bottle, it's also the same time when I started going to high school. And then now I come to look for an online course on drug abuse. I bump onto mental health. I start connecting the dots. By the time I was done with those 4 courses, I was like, this is what I want to be talking about. And I'll tell you, Lily, when I started my page, you know, my Facebook page, when I started it, I was talking about, at some point I was really talking about drug abuse when I was starting it. But I gradually changed. And it's because if we address poor mental health, woundedness, emotional wounds, and all that, even drug abuse won't start. Drug abuse is a fruit.
That's true.
Addiction is a fruit.
That's true.
You have to go to the roots.
I want to know what that moment was like when you finally came to that acceptance that you had given your husband trouble. How did you handle it? Did you tell him?
Honestly, I did not tell him outrightly. Let me tell you, it is not easy to admit. You know, I did a lot of soul searching.
Yeah.
But I guess what he was observing from where he sat is that I would spend a lot of time on my laptop. And what am I doing? I'm trying to understand my problem through the many videos I was telling you that I had started consuming.
Yeah.
But I think the point but I think after some time I started gradually telling him, hey, by the way, he used to tell me, I need to mention these 2 things.
Yeah.
Because your partner can become a very important mirror. That is what my husband was. And I don't even know how he knew these things, because it's not like he had studied psychology or anything, but he knew them.
Yeah.
And he used to tell me, there are 2 things that I remember. He once told me, I've been watching you, and I think you have been beating your father through me. You know, like revenging for your mother. You see, I saw my mother being hurt.
Yeah.
And that is why I usually tell people, you don't stay in abusive marriages because of children. You live because of them. You know, because I could see my mother being abused. Yeah, yes, alivumilia, like she persevered everything, and she managed because she never got sick or anything. She survived.
Wow.
But see what happened to us. And I'm not saying this from a point of bitterness. Of course, she didn't know all these things.
Yeah.
So he told me, I've been looking at you, and I think you beat your father through me. And let me tell you, something interesting was also happened around that time. And I usually tell people, this was weird. But now that I had studied psychology, I know it can happen. Let me tell you, Lily. There is a day my husband came into the house. I think he was coming from a meeting, a chama. He came, it was around 8:30. And I looked at him. Remember, Kwanzaa lateness. And you know,
it was a big sin.
And it is 8:30, mind you.
How dare you?
Yes. And it's because my father used to come at 1 a.m., 10 p.m. the following day. Okay, there is a time actually, I think he came the following morning. So for me, lateness was already up. It would trigger. Yes, it was a trigger.
What was a good time for your husband to come home? 5?
I actually didn't. Maybe I did not want him to go anywhere. That is what you do when you are wounded. You want a person to remain with you, like you are clingy.
So you were clingy?
Yes, actually, I was very clingy. I think, and it's funny because you don't want him to go anywhere. But again, when you are with him, because you are wounded, you are bringing unnecessary issues and frictions.
Yeah.
You know, you are a confused human.
Yeah.
That is what I was.
Yes.
So he came in. And I'm telling you, I looked at him, you know, he stepped in, and I guess he stood at the door because he doesn't know what to expect anymore. You know, remember, you're usually very unstable when you're wounded. So
would you also be very affectionate sometimes and kind and gentle?
Yes, you see, this is what used to happen. You see, like I've told you, lateness used to be a trigger and a strong one. So what I would do, we would have parted in a very good mood. But the more he gets late, the more the time, you know, goes, I'm building up anger, you see. So I would be okay as long as there is no trigger. And you see, the trigger is not even anything.
8:30.
You know, yeah. So he came in and I looked at him, and for a weird reason, I don't know what happened, but me, it's like I saw my father. Me, I don't know what happened.
Really?
It's like his face. And I think that was also the moment, it was around that moment of awakening. Because I looked at him and me, and my father and my husband are not anywhere near.
They don't look alike
each other. They don't look alike.
But you saw what you saw.
Me, I saw my father. And that is when I realized, I think, let me tell you, and psychological things are very strong, Lily. You will, if you are a wounded person, you'll be with your partner here. Your partner, let us say your partner is called Charles. You are seeing John. And like, that is what you are seeing. So when Charles does something very innocently, you are attacking John, but who is here?
It's Charles.
That is what usually happens. So I saw my father. I don't know what happened. It's like my husband's face was off, and then I saw my father.
Yeah.
And that really opened my eyes. Yeah. And all those things were building onto each other, connecting the dots. At that time, I developed a lot of hunger to understand these things. And yeah.
And that's where, so then you enrolled into psychology. And
yes. So at around that time, psychologists from Chiromo Hospital Group, Chiromo Hospital Group is a mental health hospital, they came to educate us about mental health in our church. And when my vicar knew they were coming, she wrote me a message, and I so thank God for him and for her, and I've told her so many times. Yeah. She told me, wale madaktari wa Chiromo wanakuja, says the moment, and asked them, she called them doctors. You know, people call psychologists doctors.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Wale madaktari wa Chiromo, they are coming, says the moment, and ask them how you can go about, you know, your mental health, whatever, how you can advance and all that.
Yes.
So they came. Lily, let me tell you. So they were teaching us. They were teaching us, George and Victoria. Maybe they may ever watch this. George and Victoria. Actually, George is my friend. So I remember I watched them teaching us about stress management. And I was like, that is exactly where I belong. Like this is what I should be doing. Remember, I had done like a course on stress management online. Yes. And then now I was relating, I was feeling this is where I belong. So after they were done, I approached Victoria and I asked her, I have a passion on mental health. How do you think I can start? I can listen. What did you do in campus? I told her I did biochemistry. And she told me, Amref International University, they are introducing a course called Mental Health Practice. an advanced diploma in mental health practice. You may want to approach them and know what it is about. Go to their website. I went. Lilly, I went and I checked and I realized to my disappointment that I did not qualify as per the criteria put there. And I did not know what to do. The easiest thing would have to give up. But I remember telling myself, what is the worst that can happen? Just rejecting, right? I decided to apply. 2 hours later, I got the acceptance letter.
Wow.
So I went, started my studies in Amref International University, but there was a challenge. It was an advanced diploma, so it was way above me. It was not foundational in per se, for a person who is just starting and coming from a totally different field. And I remember there are some lecturers who had actually raised an issue, and they were like, we don't think she will make it, given the rest. We were studying with people who had done Bachelor, I don't know, of Arts in Psychology or something. So those lecturers raised an issue. The course coordinator called me to her office, and we had an interview. But let me tell you, Lilly, this is what I call, that is why I believe what I do is my purpose, my calling. God ordained me for this. I went to meet her. 10 minutes into talking, she told me, Jennifer, stop right there. I believe you can do it.
Wow.
Go for it. She told me, I'm going to give you all that you need to go through.
Yes.
The foundational content and everything that you need. And I believe you'll do it. Let me tell you, Lillian, we were four students with distinction. I was one of them.
Wow.
I got all A's, just one B.
Wow.
And it is because I had a burning desire to understand these things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me ask you something. Someone said something funny, that when people are having marriage problems, instead of going for therapy, they go and do psychology courses. Do you think that a therapy, like going for therapy sessions, would have quenched the thirst you were feeling?
Maybe they could have, and I actually did therapy sessions because it is one of the requirements.
It's compulsory, yeah.
Yes, but here's the thing. I believe I went through that, Lilly, for other people. So I could have gone that and it could have fixed whatever I had, but I feel my story is supposed to help others, inspire others. I couldn't have done it without studying myself. Sometimes I sympathize with people who are wounded, having gone through it myself. Because let me tell you, you were hurt or you saw a person close to you being hurt. Remember, I saw my father change from a man who was very responsible, taking care of his family very well, no issues. By the way, can I shock you? My father was an introvert, looking back. So I saw him transform. And I saw... because I saw him, change from that very good man to this other, you are constantly of fear that my husband is a good man. I have to say this. He's a very good man. I would constantly fear that, okay, you are good today, that is okay, but you may change.
So you had trust issues as well?
I had trust issues, but not from the perspective of he is going to cheat. For me, the biggest, remember what I saw my father do? Struggle with alcoholism, start abusing my mother. That was my point of fear. That is what I was fearing. Being wounded is funny, Lilly, because you want to fix people. You want to streamline them. Well, you have the option of walking away. But you don't want that. You want to streamline fixing people. And that is why I usually say, if I see a person who is always fixing this one, a person who is not minding their business, and when you divert the energy and start working on yourself, people will start fixing themselves. You don't need to do it. Or you can walk away from them.
Right. People say that narcissistic people cannot change. And sometimes I think that the word narcissistic has just been used to describe the conflict within a person. You're clingy, but I'm clingy, but when we are together, I push you away, but I'm clinging, but I'm pushing you away. So that's, and many other different conflicts that people have has been branded as narcissistic. And the narrative is that narcissistic people do not change. Do you believe that narcissistic people change?
No, it's actually good that you have brought up that. For me, when I use the word narcissist, I'm referring to a full-blown person who would perhaps qualify for NPD diagnosis, were they to go for diagnosis. Now, that is what, for me, I think that is what we okay, I know people use that word sometimes in a misleading manner, but for me, that is what I'm referring to when I say a person is a narcissist. But now, narcissistic people, or people who have narcissistic traits, now, and there are so many, actually.
Would you say you had narcissistic traits, or you were a narcissistic person?
You know, let me explain this, and so that you can be able to understand me. What are narcissistic traits to start with? One of them is being envious, that disproportionately, high level of jealousy. How many people are jealous if they were to openly admit it?
All of us.
I had narcissistic traits. Many people have. You see, so many, you would actually be shocked. We have like 80% of people who have narcissistic traits. But even my clients, I get clients who have narcissistic traits all the time. But they are not narcissists, because narcissists cannot come for therapy sessions and commit themselves. That is how you know you are not a narcissist.
Okay.
You avail yourself and you commit yourself to change. Narcissists don't do that. You see, so I wouldn't say I was a narcissist.
Okay.
Because if I was, first I would not have. But a narcissist will die before he admits he has a problem. He only or she only admits if it will help him or her manipulate the victim. That is the only time they will say, no, you have a problem. But you see, for me, I do not even initially tell my husband. He didn't know that I'm admitting that I have a problem. He didn't know. It is something that was happening in me. You see? And we usually say narcissists don't do self-reflection. Myself, I started by doing self-reflection. And I actually do a lot of self-reflection up to date. Whereby I'm just, looking to the inside.
Yeah, but in that season of your life, would you do self-reflection? And maybe you self-reflect, but you justify yourself. Would you do any?
I would self-reflect. In fact, it would make me feel miserable, to be honest.
Oh.
Yes, I would do certain things. And then in retrospect, I would be like, I think that one, I went too far. Yeah, but I wouldn't, I would still justify myself. And that is how you know that a person is wounded. They don't admit. They will confess when they're trying to manipulate the other person. But confessing to an extent of like, I think I want to understand what is this problem that I have. I want to study it deeper. No, that one narcissists don't do.
Okay. At what point would I then say, this is, like, if I was in your husband's position, because for you, the change started after about 7 years. At what point would I say, I don't know what's going on with my spouse, and I'm now going to walk away?
The challenge is, it depends on where you are, yourself. Because if you are deeply wounded yourself, perhaps you're actually blaming yourself for what your partner is doing. You see?
Oh, yes.
And also, I also want to clarify this. I'm not here to insinuate that my husband was an angel. No one is. But because actually, when you're wounded, you attract a wounded person. It is only that you may be at different levels. So it could be, and even him, I'm grateful because he has also been working on a journey to try and look at the things that could have been problematic in him. So from the perspective of he was also wounded in a way, because if you are wounded, you attract a wounded person. That is what happens. He could, plus I wasn't violent, like outrightly violent. Many people don't understand emotional abuse and the rest. Out here, they know if someone is not being violent, if they're not beating you, you're like, maybe I also have a problem, I'm contributing, let me try to fix it. So that is what was happening. And that is why I guess for him, he couldn't move away because and then I think he had a lot of compassion. Maybe he would look at me and realize, okay, I'm doing all these things, but then I later like regret what I did and all that.
Okay. There are these spouses who, when they're behind closed doors, someone is very mean, but when they go to social circles, family gatherings, workplace functions, the spouse is very kind and nice. And maybe usually it's a successful spouse that brings a lot of honor to them. but you don't know how to live because you don't know what you will tell people. How have you encountered such people in your practice?
All the time. All the time. To an extent, Lilly, you know, we usually say genuine things don't need constant proving. You know, real things don't need constant showing off and all that. So actually for me, if I see that you're always acting perfect out here as a couple, I'm like, I have a problem believing it. Yeah, because something real does not need constant justifying.
What do you mean acting perfect?
Okay, I'm not saying all of them, but for me, I know there are so many couples who are doing very well, and you'll never see them doing public display
pictures,
of affection.
Social media.
You will never see them. Yet, remember, Lilly, for me, I've been privileged, and I thank God. I started by practicing in Kiabu County Referral Hospital, and the psychology clinic was very busy. And also out here, I've encountered so many people. Also, remember, I have a Facebook page where I get so many inboxes. I'm telling you, I have met people and they confess to me and they tell me, Jennifer, we were the role model in church. We would be the brides, what are they called? Best couple.
Best couple.
We actually, I think we were the best couple. I don't know in how many weddings. But guess what was happening inside, behind the closed doors? Violence, war zone. We would go to church in matching outfits. But for me, if I see so much public display of affection, I just
You're
hope,
skeptical.
I'm not outrightly skeptical, but I just hope what you are showing us is what there is. Because what I have had, the things I've come across.
I get you.
Me niko tu hapa.
Okay, give them advice. Give me advice if I'm that person who is in a perfect looking marriage and I'm just unable to live because it's bringing me honor. We live in our own home, like what you had mentioned. You know, just conveniences of life that I don't want to let go of.
A certain Buddha guy told me something some time back, and I agree. And he told me, if you don't want your wife to ever leave you, build her a home. You know, that the thought of me leaving our mansion and going. So what is happening is that we have, this is so sad because, you know, again, I deal with clients and I hear these things all the time. That there are people who have these big houses, not all of them, but you find that people have big, beautiful houses, but the tears that are happening in there, and it is because someone cannot bring themselves to walk out. But here's the thing, Lilly, and this saddens me. We are losing so many. I don't know who will ever do a research on this, but I dare believe that if research is done properly, people may actually get shocked, because if we removed abusive marriages from the picture, we may see a drastic decline in deaths. Why? Yes. Why? Because abusive marriages, they are for me, from the experience I have, and I've had with so many people, they could be the single most biggest factor causing. You people think it's the economy. You may actually be shocked. And especially emotional abuse. I worked in Kiabu County Referral, like I told you. And that is where, by the way, you follow me on my Facebook page, you know. The reason why I'm so passionate about talking about emotional abuse, narcissistic abuse, it is because I saw how those forms of abuse kill. They kill. They are a killer.
How do they kill?
They kill. You know, this is what happens. And actually, it's good that we are talking about this. You see that situation you said, someone is wondering, how do I leave this beautifully looking home? People look up to us and all that. It brings a state of conflict in your mind.
Yes.
See, I know you already know about the flight or fight response. But sometimes neither flight, neither fight is ideal. You can't fight your partner. You are not able to fight him or her. You are not able to run away. So you are torn and you are pulled from both sides. What happens is that it's like you enter into a freeze response. You know, physically it happens. Like if I opened the door and I saw a lion, I can't run away, because where am I running away to? Let us say that it is the door to a one-roomed house. I can't run away. Can I fight a lion? No. What do? I freeze. You see? Psychologically, that happens as well. So, and when you freeze, when you're in that state of conflict, you develop a mental disorder called conversion disorder.
Conversion disorder.
Conversion disorder, and not convulsion. People know ile ya you see the baby convulsed, you say the baby convulsed and all that. This is conversion disorder. And let me tell you, Lynn, conversion disorder is so common. Many people don't know they have it. This is what happens. When you have conversion disorder, you're in that state of conflict. You don't know whether to run away or to stay. Your body is like, me, I'm done. I'm done with this stress. So it converts that stress into physical symptoms. When it converts, you start getting constant headache that is not going anywhere. You'll take the medication, it won't go. You'll go to hospital, you're given the strongest, it stops for a moment, then back. You will get constant headaches. You will get muscle weakness. You'll get hearing difficulties. I've met people with hearing. Yes. Visual difficulties.
Visual?
Yes. And the people who are wearing glasses and they don't know the problem is actually the toxic relationships they are in. Visual difficulties, indigestion or digestion problems, loss of sleep, loss of appetite, chest pain that does not go away. You will go to hospital, you will get all the scans, and the doctor will tell you, I can't see anything, nothing is wrong here. It is stress. And I've come across people who have gone through that. They have been having chest pains for even 2 years. They have taken all the medication. The moment we address the conflicts that they're having in their medicals, they don't know whether to stay or to come out, the chest pain goes. Back pain, tactile hallucinations, those ones you feel like there are things that are moving on your skin. All that, symptoms of conversion disorder. If I saw it kills, and I know people, it is only that I will not, I can't reveal here, but I know people personally, they died, and people said, hey, it is blood pressure, it is what, but me, I know stress killed them. So this is what I usually say, especially when you get to a point where you start getting these strange illnesses and infections and all that. It is time to live, because you will die, you will leave your children suffering, and then that person that you are saying, I will not live, because what will people say? They are going to remarry, or get married again, and their life will continue. That house that you don't want to live, you'll be buried there, and you leave it, and someone else is going to stay there, or even whatever will happen after that. So I know so many people are in this situation, or they're in this status conflict, this mental conflict, but I usually say nothing is worth losing your life. Nothing. And some people will not die. But what will happen is they lose themselves. You have you ever met a person and then you're like, gosh, who is this? It's like I can't identify him or her anymore.
So as we close the show, I would like you to just encourage people to go for therapy. Why go for therapy? What to expect when they go for therapy? Because sometimes I feel like we come to therapists wanting you to fix my husband. Don't even fix me. Me, I'm fine. Fix my husband. So when I come for therapy, what am I expecting, and also where they can find you?
Okay. So when you go for therapy, and I believe this is what happens with all therapists, professionals, they are supposed to take your history, your entire history. Actually, my lecturers who trained me, they showed us how to start from even before a person is born. And you are supposed to ask them, could you have had your parents say, like, they had these issues when they were pregnant with you? So a therapist, a professional therapist will take entire history of your life up to where you are. And I'm telling you, if I take your history, I'm able to know the issues that you have. Yes, you came because your husband or your wife did this and this and that, but I'm also able to tell you, Appa, there is a problem. And also, so again, what to expect in therapy, the therapist is going to go back in time and determine what could have happened in your life that could have shaped you into who you are. Because there is the chief complaint, what brought me here, like for me, I usually ask my clients, what made you feel the need to come and see a therapist? There is the chief complaint, what brought them. But then I go back in time and determine what are the things that unfolded. And often what we usually find is that, yes, your husband is abusing you, your wife is abusing you and all that, but you also have, and so many people are wounded. It's because of the kind of families that we were raised. Our parents were wounded and all that. And for me, like for instance, it made it easier to forgive my husband, my father, because I knew he was a deeply wounded soul. Actually, the name Jeniffer Kiarie. Kiarie is my father. I proudly bear his name because I believe it wasn't his will and desire to be so. So, you know, we go, for me, I don't just settle on what you tell me.
Yeah.
I will also check, what are these things? Because let me tell you, Lily, for you to be abused that much, things did not just change overnight. You know, there are certain things that lay the ground for that. And you may actually find that there are certain things you tolerated that you shouldn't have tolerated.
Yes.
And they built up all the way to the abuse that you are now reporting.
Yes.
And why did you tolerate all that? You find that for so many people, it is because woundedness was keeping them from knowing what they deserve or how they should be treated. Because remember, Lily, we lay the standards of how we want to be treated. So many people, we bring, you know, in my native we usually say, unajegewa na miti yenye ulileta. So if you brought miti yenye inaonyesha you cannot tolerate abuse, that is what the person builds with.
Yes.
So, and why do many people tolerate abuse?
Powerful.
Because they are wounded souls.
Yes.
So again, a therapist will look into all that, help you with better coping mechanisms, because often we adopt very maladaptive coping mechanisms that don't help us coping with the stress and all that. But I have to emphasize this, actually. There are 4 factors that determine the success of therapy. It is important to mention them very briefly.
Yeah.
So there is the enthusiasm and willingness of the client to change.
Yes.
That is very important.
Yeah.
So if you come and you think that the therapist will do everything.
Fix my husband.
No, it won't work. Number 2, the living conditions where you are living. Because if you are still staying with the same person who is abusing you and all that, you may not be able to overcome whatever. Then number 3, there is of course the effectiveness of the therapist. And then there is the therapeutic relationship that you build with your therapist. So you see, there are all those factors.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, Lily, what determines whether a person will heal, it is not how wounded they are. You can be severely wounded. But if you are committed to the process, and this is something I've seen in my clients, you will be fine. You will get okay, you will heal. As to where they can find me,
yes,
I offer online therapy sessions and coaching sessions. And the reason why I do it online is because it helps me access even people who are outside Kenya. So you only need to contact me via my phone number, which is 0723 285 010. And they can also follow me on Facebook, Heal and Thrive with Jeniffer Kiarie.
All right. That was amazing. Thank you so much for being so candid, sharing your story with us. What stood out for me is also when you said that you are not here to say that your husband is a saint. So no one is a saint.
No one is.
Yeah. So looking at yourself and seeing flaws on yourself does not mean that you should now go to hell, go straight to hell.
Yes.
Yeah. You can heal. I like your process of healing. You are very engaged in your own process of healing, which is you can't heal if you don't put in the work, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. And healing is a journey, Lily.
Yeah.
I'm still on the journey. And most people actually, yes.
You're not healed completely.
There is actually nothing like being, I know we use that term that I'm healed, but there is hardly anything like I'm healed. So many people, you die before they exhaust the traumas they collected along the way. So what healing, when I say I've healed, what I mean is that I'm now in charge of myself. I'm able to control myself.
I like that.
You know, I'm stable.
Yes.
That is what is now healing.
Yes.
Otherwise, we are all on a journey. I keep reflecting on myself and asking myself, what are these things that I need to work on?
Yes.
My husband too, and all of us. I believe that is how we should do it. Yeah.
Thank you so
much. And if we heal at a family level, the society will heal, and we shall all have a better place to live in.
That is true. Thank you so much, and all the best in your practice. May people heal. That's why we are here, so that everyone can heal. So make sure you subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and tell your friends about this show. This is a healing center. Thank you for watching. Bye.